Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Naushin Tasfiodji from Department of Economics of Shahjalal University of Science and Technology. The topic I'm going to talk about today is dynamic stability, through which the tides of global economy could be navigated to a great extent. Dynamic stability in international finance is essential for promoting economic growth and prosperity. It refers to the ability of a country's financial and economic systems to maintain stability over time, especially in the face of external shocks or changing conditions in the global economy. When the international finance system is stable, businesses and investors are more likely to invest and lend, which can lead to economic growth. To examine the dynamic stability of the equilibrium point, we must first examine the forces acting on income and the exchange rate when either of these variables is outside equilibrium, and then investigate whether and under what conditions these forces cause the deviating variables to converge to the equilibrium point. Let's move on to the next slide. For this purpose, the dynamic behavior assumptions usually are made uh, the following. National income or output varies in relationship to ex- excess demand for goods. Precisely, output increases if aggregate demand exceeds output, which is called positive excess demand, and decreases in the opposite case. The another assumption is the exchange rate, that is the price of foreign exchange. It increases if there is a positive excess demand to foreign exchange in the foreign exchange market, and it decreases if there is a negative excess demand to foreign exchange in the forex market. Here we can see a graphical representation of dynamic instability. Here in the graph, in the vertical axis we represented output, and in the horizontal axis it is the exchange rate. The intersection between the BB and RR schedule subdivides the space of the first quadrant into four zones: Zone A1, Zone A2, Zone A3, and Zone A4. And the point E here depicts an unstable equilibrium point. Let's begin with Zone A1. Here, point A1 lies below the RR schedule and above BB schedule. It implies positive excess demand for goods and balance of payment deficit. In zone A2, the A2 point is above the RR schedule and BB schedule. It implies negative excess demand and BOP deficit. Moving on to zone A3. Here A3 point is below BB and above RR schedule. It represents negative excess demand for goods and BOP surplus. In zone A4, point A4 is below BB and RR schedule. It shows positive exchange demand and balance of payment deficit. Therefore, as the consequence of the dynamic behavior assumptions made in the earlier slide, income tends to increase as shown by the vertical arrow drawn from A1 pointing upwards, and the exchange rate tends to depreciate as shown by the horizontal arrow drawn from A1 and pointing to the right. Point A will therefore tend to move in a direction included between the two arrows, and so will move further and further away from the equilibrium point E. With similar reasoning applied to the other three zones of figure 1.1a, we conclude that the system will move away from the equilibrium point, which is therefore unstable. Here, the instability arises because of not fulfilling the critical elasticity condition, that is, eta x plus eta y is less than 1. Moreover, the BB schedule is downward sloping, thus, Marshall-Lerner's condition is not fulfilled. So, our equilibrium point is unstable. Now, let's have a look at another dynamic instability graph. Here, in figure 1.1b, BB schedule is upward sloping such that the critical elasticity condition is satisfied. But the BB schedule, though increasing, cuts the RR schedule from above, that is, above it to the left of the intersection point, and vice versa. As we see, the directions of movement of arrows tends to be away from the equilibrium rather than converge to it. The equilibrium point is again unstable. There are many reasons for the dynamic instability. Some of the common reasons include financial market volatility. Financial markets are often volatile and unpredictable, which can lead to sudden and large changes in the asset prices. This can make it difficult for businesses and investors to plan for the future and lead to financial instability. The second one is herding behavior. Herding behavior is when investors all follow the same trend, regardless of whether it is justified. This can lead to asset bubbles, which can burst and cause financial instability. The third one is regulatory arbitrage. Regulatory arbitrage is when investors take advantage of differences in regulations to avoid taking the full risk of their investments. This can lead to financial instability if investors are not taking the full risks of their investments. Another one is speculative attacks. Speculators in the foreign exchange markets can trigger dynamic stability uh, by betting against a particular currency, which can lead to dynamic instability. These are some of the reasons for the dynamic instability. It is important to understand these factors in order to develop effective policies to promote stability. I guess now we are tired of instability. Now let's be stable. I mean, let's watch a dynamic stable graph. In this figure 1.1c, the equilibrium point is stable, as here the direction of movement is towards equilibrium. Here all the four phases are towards equilibrium. Necessary and sufficient condition both are fulfilled. Eta x and eta y is greater than 1 because BB schedule is upward. Moreover, the slope of BB schedule is greater than the slope of RR schedule. Thus, the sufficient condition gives stability of this equilibrium. Now, the economic explanation for this outcome. Consider the case where there is a deficit in the balance of payments. Assuming that the conventional critical elasticity conditions hold true, the exchange rate declines and the deficit decreases. However, the devaluation raises the overall demand for domestic production, which boosts revenue. Imports rise and counteracting the depreciation's initial beneficial effect on the balance of payments. Consequently, the effect must be stronger than it would have been in the absence of income effects, meaning that the total of the higher elasticity than in the conventional scenario are required. As a result of the critical, we can say that we are obtaining stable equilibrium. Here I have shown a difference between figure 1.1c and 1.1b. In figure 1.1c, which shows a stable equilibrium, the necessary condition, ML condition, is fulfilled and the sufficient condition is also fulfilled. And in the figure 1.1b, which is not a stable equilibrium, necessary condition, ML condition, is fulfilled, but the sufficient condition is not held. And in panel C, the increasing BB schedule cuts the RR schedule from below, and in panel B, the BB schedule, though increasing, cuts the RR schedule from above. That's all. Thank you very much for staying with me.